Seconds before the Mafia pulls the trigger, she warns them they're making a fatal mistake. Because her husband isn't just a man, he's the deadliest ex-CIA monster. The story kicks off with June Havens, a woman on a mission in a massive junkyard. She's hunting for a rare part to fix her father's vintage car, a surprise gift for her sister's upcoming wedding. With the heavy car part finally in her bag, she heads to the airport, bound for Boston. While navigating the terminal, she accidentally bumps into a charming, mysterious stranger named Roy Miller. He's quick to help her with her bags, offering a smooth apology before disappearing into the crowd. June moves through security, explaining to the officers that her luggage is packed with greasy car parts for a special DIY project. Once she's cleared, she turns around and, guess who? She bumps into Roy for the second time. He's polite, apologetic, and seems like a total gentleman. But June's luck takes a dive when the airline agent tells her the flight is overbooked. She's stuck at the gate, frustrated, until Roy appears out of nowhere. He drops a bit of mystery, telling her that, sometimes, things happen for a reason. Little does June know, the CIA is watching her every move. A corrupt high-ranking agent named Fitzgerald spots Roy on the CCTV and notices his accidental run-ins with June. The agency immediately suspects June is Roy's partner in crime. To keep tabs on them, Fitzgerald pulls some strings and clears a path for June to board. When she finally steps onto the plane, she's stunned. The massive aircraft is a ghost town. There's only one other passenger on board, Roy. She's relieved to see a familiar face, and the two hit it off instantly. But the flight is anything but smooth. Violent turbulence hits, sending luggage flying everywhere. Roy's reflexes are inhuman. He catches a falling bag before it even touches June. In the chaos, June spills her drink and heads to the restroom to clean up. Left alone in the cabin, Roy's smile fades. He looks around the empty plane and realizes the truth. This wasn't a lucky seat. This flight was a setup. He's being hunted, and the passengers are about to show their true colors. While June is in the restroom, the mask finally slips. Every single passenger and flight attendant on this plane is actually a professional assassin or a corrupt agent. They've cleared the cabin for one reason, to put Roy Miller in a body bag. But they clearly didn't check his resume. Roy doesn't just fight back, he turns the narrow aisle into a tactical masterclass. To keep June safe and oblivious, he jams the washroom door shut while he goes to work. Bullets fly, and in the heat of the struggle, the crossfire takes out both pilots. Roy manages to eliminate every attacker, and with superhuman speed, he props the bodies back up in their seats to make everything look normal before June walks out. When June finally exits the washroom, she sees Roy sitting calmly, looking like he hasn't moved an inch. She's starting to feel a real spark, but Roy's mind is on the crashing altitude. He drops the bombshell. Everyone on board tried to kill him, and the cockpit is a graveyard. June thinks he's pulling a prank, but then the plane hits a massive air pocket. The passengers slide right out of their seats and pile up on the floor like ragdolls. The reality hits June like a freight train. Roy rushes into the cockpit, grabbing the controls as the massive jet screams toward the ground. He isn't aiming for a runway, he's aiming for a massive cornfield. After a bone-jarring, dirt-spraying touchdown, Roy realizes the agency will be swarming the crash site in minutes. He hands June a drink to calm her nerves, but it's a setup. Before she drifts off into a drugged sleep, he gives her a chilling warning. Agents are coming for you. They'll tell you everything is fine. But June, when they say everything is fine, that's when you're in the most danger. June blacks out and wakes up hours later in her own apartment, safe but completely spiraling. Beside her is a simple cryptic note from Roy. Remember, don't tell anyone. The mystery man is gone, but June is now the most wanted woman in the country. June tries to shake off the nightmare and heads straight to her sister, who's busy picking out a wedding dress. But June gets a heart-crushing surprise. Her sister wants to sell their father's vintage car to put a down payment on a house. June is devastated. She's been busting her back finding parts to restore that car as a tribute to their dad, and now the dream is slipping away. Shaken and upset, she walks out into the street, but she doesn't get far before reality catches up. A fleet of black SUVs swerves in, and Agent Fitzgerald steps out. He's smooth, professional, and terrifyingly calm. He tells June that he's CIA and that Roy Miller is a rogue agent who's gone off the deep end. He explains that Roy stole the Zephyr, a revolutionary battery that could power an entire city forever. Fitzgerald is convinced June is the accomplice. He pressures her for an address, but when June says she doesn't know him, Fitzgerald drops the trigger words. Don't worry, June. Everything is fine. The warning bells in June's head go off like a siren. Just as she realizes she's in a trap, the convoy is hit. Roy Miller arrives like a one-man army, taking out agency vehicles with surgical precision. A brutal shootout erupts in the middle of traffic. Roy clears a path, leaps into June's car, and sends the CIA scrambling. In the chaos, June slips away and runs to the only person she thinks can protect her, her ex-boyfriend, a firefighter. She's in a diner, frantically explaining the situation, when Roy walks through the front door. He doesn't just ask her to leave, he stages a kidnapping right in front of the security cameras. He needs the world to see him as the villain and June as the victim. When the firefighter tries to play the hero, Roy puts a bullet in the man's leg, giving him a wink and telling him the injury will finally get him that promotion he's been waiting for. Once they're clear, Roy drops the hard truth. He had to kidnap her. If the agency thought they were working together, she'd be a target for life. June isn't buying it. She's terrified and convinced the official agents are the good guys. She tells Roy to his face that she trusts the agency more than him. This hits a nerve. Roy pulls the car over and tells her she's free to go, but if she walks away now, she won't last an hour. The realization sinks in. Roy is the only thing standing between her and a CIA hit squad. She gets back in, and the real story finally comes out. Roy was assigned to protect Simon Feck, the genius student who invented the Zephyr. But the mission went south when Fitzgerald turned traitor. He wants to kill Simon, steal the battery, and sell it on the black market, all while pinning the crime on Roy. To save the kid, Roy grabbed the battery and hid Simon away. They head to the secret location, but Simon is gone, leaving a message that he's headed for Austria. Before they can move, they're hit by mercenaries working for Antonio, a ruthless arms dealer. Roy knows the situation is getting too loud, so he slips June another sleepy drink to keep her safe. When June wakes up, they've been captured. Roy is hanging upside down in front of her, but he's a top-tier specialist for a reason. He breaks his restraints, wipes out the guards, and spirits June away in a stolen helicopter to a private island. This is Roy's ultimate ghost hideout, but June has reached her breaking point. In a fit of anger, she grabs her bag to walk away, only to find Roy's satellite phone. She turns it on and sees a live feed of a garage on Amapola Road. She thinks she's found his weakness, but every secret comes with a price. While Roy secures the perimeter, June's phone buzzes. It's her sister. In a moment of weakness, June picks up. It's a fatal error. Antonio has been tracking her signal, and the second the call connects, he traces them to the island. June tries to play it cool, but the guilt eats at her. She finds Roy, and amidst the looming threat, the tension breaks. They share a heated, desperate kiss. But the romance is cut short by heavy gunfire. Antonio's mercenaries have arrived. Roy realizes the island is compromised, and as they flee in a helicopter, June begs him to drug her again. She doesn't want to be awake for the next disaster. When she wakes up, they're on a high-speed train cutting through the snowy mountains of Austria. This is where Simon is hiding. June slips out and bumps into a nervous-looking man. She asks, "Are you Simon?" The man nods, but something feels off. She spots a smudge of ink on her shoe, a hidden message from Roy. "Stay in your room. I'm with the real Simon." The man in front of her is an assassin. A brutal brawl erupts in the kitchen, and the assassin is a mountain of a man. Roy is being overpowered until June jumps in, creating just enough of a distraction for Roy to kick the killer off the speeding train. By the time Fitzgerald storms the cars at the next station, the cabins are empty. Roy, June, and Simon have vanished into the night. Roy eventually meets Fitzgerald in a tense standoff. Fitzgerald tells him that if the battery isn't delivered in an hour, June and Simon are dead. Roy returns to the hotel looking shaken, telling June he has an emergency meeting. But June follows him into the shadows and watches as Roy meets with a mysterious woman, a top-tier operative for Antonio. As June listens from a distance, she hears Roy negotiating a massive price for the Zephyr. Her heart shatters. She's convinced that Fitzgerald was right. Roy isn't a hero, he's just a high-level mercenary selling out to the highest bidder. Heartbroken and feeling betrayed, June walks straight into the arms of the CIA. The director meets her personally, handing her a high-tech tracking pen. The mission is simple. Find Roy, stay close, and click the pen. The moment she does, the agency will swarm and take him down. June, fueled by hurt, agrees. She returns to Roy, who is frantically trying to cool down the Zephyr battery in a bucket of ice because the device is reaching critical, unstable temperatures. June looks at the man she thought she loved and asks him coldly, "How much are you getting for it?" Before he can answer, she clicks the pen. Roy's eyes widen. He knows the signal has been sent. Within seconds, the CIA starts shredding the room with gunfire. Roy grabs the burning battery and sprints for the roof. As June watches from below, a sniper's bullet finds its mark. Roy is knocked off the ledge, falling hundreds of feet into the icy river below. The CIA releases June, but she's a ghost of her former self. Every time she looks at her father's vintage car, she thinks of Roy. Meanwhile, the truth starts to crawl out of the shadows. Fitzgerald hasn't gone back to HQ. He's kidnapped Simon and murdered his own partner. He calls Antonio with a new offer. "I don't have the battery, but I have the brain that built it." Back in the States, June starts putting the pieces together. She remembers the photo on Roy's phone, the garage on Amapola Road. Driven by a gut feeling, she drives to the address. She doesn't find a secret base or a pile of cash. Instead, she finds a quiet, suburban home owned by an elderly couple who think their son died a hero years ago. June steps inside the quiet house on Amapola Road, and her heart stops. On the mantel sits a photo of Roy, but the name on the frame is Matthew Knight. She meets an elderly couple and learns the bittersweet truth. They believe their son, a decorated soldier, died years ago in the Gulf War. They tell June stories of his bravery and his legendary skills as a world-class swimmer, a man who could cross any river, no matter the current. June realizes Roy's death in the icy Austrian river was a masterpiece of misdirection. He didn't fall, he dove. He staged his own end to pull the target off June's back and keep his parents safe. The truth hits June like a lightning bolt. Roy isn't the villain, he's a guardian who has been anonymously sending his parents lottery winnings to take care of them. Now, she's determined to find him. Knowing the CIA and Antonio's mercenaries are tapping her line, she looks directly into a security camera and drops the bait. "I know you're listening. I have the Zephyr battery." The trap works instantly. Antonio's men swarm the house and kidnap June, dragging her to the arms dealer's private estate. Antonio isn't playing games, he injects June with a potent truth serum. Under the influence, June giggles and spills a truth Antonio didn't expect. "I don't have the battery, but whenever my life is in danger, Roy Miller shows up to save me." Antonio is furious and orders her execution, but he has a bigger deal to close with Agent Fitzgerald. Just as the guards raise their weapons, Roy strikes. He turns the estate into a tactical nightmare, wiping out the hit squad and pulling June from the brink of death. With June safely behind him, Roy hops on a motorcycle and tears through the streets of Seville. He isn't just running, he's hunting. The chase screams into the heart of Seville, right into the middle of a chaotic bull run. Roy weaves through the thundering hooves with June on the back, while Antonio's mercs try to close them in. Roy uses the festival's chaos to his advantage, maneuvering Antonio's vehicle directly into the path of the charging bulls. The car is crushed, ending Antonio's criminal empire in the dirt. But the real threat, Fitzgerald, is still breathing. Roy corners him near a getaway helicopter where he's holding Simon hostage. Fitzgerald demands the Zephyr battery. Roy doesn't hesitate, he hands over the glowing device to save the kid. But the corrupt agent has no intention of leaving witnesses. He raises his weapon to kill Simon, but Roy throws himself into the line of fire, taking a bullet to the shoulder. Fitzgerald sneers, grabs the battery, and sprints for the chopper. As it lifts off, Simon whispers the truth. That battery was the first prototype, the one with the unstable, wrong, formula. High above the city, the Zephyr pulses with a blinding light. Fitzgerald barely realizes he's holding a bomb before it hits critical mass, vaporizing the helicopter in a massive fireball. Roy is rushed to a secure hospital, where the director of the CIA stands over his bed. She finally admits they were wrong, calling him their best agent. But the praise comes with a catch. He's being moved to a secure facility forever. Roy knows the agency wants to bury him. Suddenly, a nurse enters to administer his medicine. Roy takes the drink and slips into unconsciousness. But this isn't a hit. The nurse pulls off her mask to reveal June. She's used Roy's own tricks to smuggle him out right under the CIA's nose. Days later, Roy opens his eyes to the sound of crashing waves. He's on a sun-drenched beach with June. When he asks where they're going, she gives him the answer they've dreamed of, Cape Horn. Back on Amapola Road, Roy's parents find 2 first-class tickets to the same destination. The dead soldier and the kidnapped girl have finally found their peace. The mission is over, and for the first time in his life, Matthew Knight is finally home. The CIA wanted him buried, but Matthew Knight was always 3 steps ahead. If you enjoyed this high-speed ride, hit that like button and join the crew here at Cinemaned. I'll see you in the next one.